Hey friends, I was encouraged to create this video for you today because there's a lot of things that I do as part of my website accessibility and usability evaluation that are just second nature to me, and they may not be second nature or even like something that you have ever tried. So it was just let's make a video. Let me stop stuttering and let's make a video. All right, so one of the things that I do is check for color contrast. We always want to make sure that the color that we are using for all of our website elements, I want to say, is an appropriate color contrast. So I'm positive that this is passing, but I want to show you how I do it. So first, I'm going to right click on any element and I'm going to inspect. When this opens up my element, my developer tools, that's what's opening up here. If you don't see the right click and inspect, it might be because you need to go up to settings for Chrome and allow access to developer tools. Some people have that turned off, I think by default. So I've had it turned on for ages, so I'm used to this. So this pulls up the developer tools, and this is what I use to look at the HTML, and then I also can look at the CSS here. So this has elements, which is the HTML elements that are on the page, or the domain object model, the document that the HTML is built of. I feel like I'm stuttering through this. We'll figure it out. And then we have styles. This is underlined down here too, saying that these are the CSS and Sass styles that are rendering what you see on the page. So up here in this top menu, and hopefully you can follow my mouse, to the left of this elements that we see, there's the device toolbar. The device emulator is what I call it. And essentially this allows you to change the device and see what it looks like as if it was on another device. This is really helpful when you're just looking at layout. It's not so helpful when you're looking for specific, like looking at the browser, looking at the content and how it changes from portrait to landscape. You should definitely still do that on the actual mobile device itself so that you get the real impact, because the emulator is trying to kind of give you that sense, but it's still a website browser or a web browser. So we're not looking at that today, but I wanted to make sure that you knew what that was. And then over here on the left of that, we have select an element in the page to inspect it. This is the element inspector, and this is baked in to the Chrome browser. You don't have to download anything to do this, and it's really, really helpful because it gives you a certain amount of information that you would otherwise have to get in a kind of more roundabout way. So when we click on this, it just turns a tiny, like slight bit orange, maybe a pale red. But what this does now is that everything that I hover over on the page, it's going to give me some information about it. So I want to look at this button. So I know it's a button, and I'm going to actually do a Command-Shift-4 so that I can pretend to take a screenshot so that I can aim this at you. We know it's a button. It's got the anchor tag wrapping it. It tells us that the color, and color is always referring to the font color, not the background color. So we've got the font color is white, pure white, FFF. We also know that the font size is 14.4 pixels in Josephine Sans. We know that the background of the button is 49297B. That's the hex code for that deep purple. And we also know like what size padding is on there. So how much space is between the edge of the button and the text on the button. But more importantly, and the most exciting part that I want to tell you, is that we now have in-browser accessibility tools. We don't have to use another extension or a plugin or take a screenshot and drop it in Figma. So now we know this is keyboard focusable. So that means it is an input that if I'm tabbing or I'm a screen reader user and I use the keyboard to navigate, we know that this is focusable with the keyboard. That's awesome. And we also know that there is a contrast ratio on here. So it's showing us that it has a purple background and white font or a white colored text, and it is 11.13. And you can just that it's invisible. That is giving you the contrast ratio. So that is 11.13 to 1. So this is actually a fantastic contrast ratio. And now let me escape my pretend screenshot because it didn't actually do anything. That's what that little target icon is for my mouse. So if I escape that, now I want to look at the text down here. So we know that this is a paragraph of text. It's actually the M. It's focused on emphasis. That is the HTML class that we can add to it. It's an HTML tag. It's kind of an old, but it's fine. We know that it is also white text. We know that the background is a slightly warmer or lighter purple than the background of that button. We know that the font size is 19.2 pixels and that the contrast ratio is 9:1. So that is how I check the contrast ratio without having to dig around into the CSS styles or dig too far into the HTML content. So hopefully that is helpful, and then you can just press escape and close it. It gets kind of distracting when you're moving around the page and everything goes, all the stuff around it. But hopefully this is helpful for you to get a little bit faster at finding the color contrast of certain elements on the page. All right, thanks for joining me today. I'll see you soon. Where's my stop button?